I am gonna talk a little bit about the experiences we made during the German case study, where we applied the IOI matrix together with a regional ministry in Germany. And a couple of words on what the IOI matrix is. So it is a tool that can be used to systematically link objectives, interventions, and impacts. So it basically creates an overview for a specific context on how interventions and impacts are linked and how that contributes to larger objectives. So it's basically a method that can be used to visualize, and I'm going to show that in a couple of slides, how the different interventions that are used in a specific context, be it regional, be it national, contribute to the set objectives through the impacts. And so this method can be used to support evidence-based decision-making, and it also helps to visualize the coherence between different measures as it visualizes and also underlines that with certain values, the coherence between different interventions that are chosen. So as like input for the IOI, like filling the IOI matrix, it can draw on different sources. So in our case, we combined like a literature analysis. We also do on the SWOT and the need assessment, and ex ante impact evaluation. The way we implemented it in the state of Hesse in Germany is that we looked at the coherence between measures from the CAP's first and second pillar. So we looked at environmental and climate goals and looked at how the interventions that were implemented in the eco schemes and in the second pillar regional program of that state. So in our case, we looked at it in a mid-programming period to just get an overview. It wasn't used for a specific policy goal, but we used it to try it out with the regional partner, which actually proved to be really successful. We didn't create any new scenarios from applying the method, and also we weren't able to create a full stakeholder process, which can be very helpful to create more legitimacy for the tool and also have more input. But yeah, in our case, we weren't able to do that, but it's highly recommended. As I said, we used desk research and expert judgment and also focused ministry input to populate the matrix to then get to the results that we were able to achieve. As an output, we had the populated IOI matrix, which I'm going to show to you in a minute. And then there was also an accompanying 57-page explanatory report, which just, was basically the background information for the visualization that we created with the IOI matrix. The way we worked was that we, as IfLS, coordinated the implementation of the tool use. So we also, as in our institute, we have colleagues who are very involved in the evaluation, ex-ante evaluation process of the CAP strategic design process in Germany and have a lot of experience from different works they also did for the ministry. We were so lucky to have expert knowledge in-house, and so we could draw on that expertise to also populate the matrix, and we worked together with the ministry in Hesse to get input from them to also create the scope of what we were looking at with the tool, and then get feedback and also validate the results. So we went and had a 3-step process. So we first agreed on the scope of the matrix and the tool implementation on how we were to collect the data, and agreed on a timeline. In the next phase, there was a lot of desk research from when she also drew a lot on the evaluation output that was already available, and looked at the coherence between the ecoschemes and the HALM, so that's a regional program. We looked at measures to then populate the matrix. And in the third phase, we discussed the results and also discussed methodological insights that we got from implementing the tool. As I said, stakeholder involvement was limited, but I think it would have been really helpful to also get more input from stakeholders, and we also within the project, which also helped to that just showed again that like group settings like that are very helpful to get feedback on these processes. As I said, this is the result of our process. So in the left column, you can see the different measures from the eco-schemes and from the regional program. It is all in German, but I think you can get the idea. And then in the on top, you see the different goals that or objectives that these measures work towards. And then we're in the different fields, you can see the population of the matrix, so the values with which the different interventions contribute to the goals. So it goes from -3 to +3, -3 being a highly negative impact and +3 being a highly positive impact. And so I think this shows pretty well how you have a lot of input that goes into populating the matrix, but it results in a very good overview of of how the interventions link with the objectives. And in our case, we used it to also get more input on coherence, so to see how different programmings work towards the same objectives and where they might have overlaps and synergies. So this is the result, and then you can see in the last column also with the number how much the programs actually contribute to how well the interventions are designed to contribute to several objectives. So that is like the number you see in the end. As I said, the results were this populated IOI matrix and then an accompanying analytical report. Just to give you an insight on what the main findings were in our case, we saw that there were strong contributions of the eco-scheme program and the regional program HALM to water protection, nutrient management, and biodiversity. We could show with the matrix that the eco-scheme provided very broad coverage, while the regional program adds very targeted and more high impact measures. And so there was some sense of complementarity. Measures also indirectly contributed to climate and soil goals, for example, via agroforestry, and we could show that there were only a few negative effects. What we also discussed with the ministry, what can be achieved with the method is that there is something like a helicopter view of policy coherence, so that there's just and that is like something that our contact person from the ministry reported, that when you're within the process of implementing the measures, there is the possibility of not really having an overview anymore of how the different measures work together. And I think that was something that she very much appreciated from the outputs. there is a supported reflection on overlaps, gaps, and synergies. And I think the IOI Matrix is a very adaptable tool, so it can be used in very different contexts for different goals, even under limited participation. And then for learnings, it is highly effective to visualize intervention logics, or to visualize how different interventions work together. And I think something that we definitely learned from our experience is that it facilitated structured dialogue between researchers and policymakers, and this also creates a sort of transparency. It works really well even if there are small expert groups, like in our case, but wider participation is definitely good to increase legitimacy. And it is very necessary to clearly define the purpose of using the tool. For example, like getting an overview or having an evaluation of the measures, or looking at it from a programming view. So I think that is very crucial for implementing the tool. We also learned that it's good to start earlier than we did in the programming cycle, which was obviously because of the project logic, that broader stakeholder input would be very helpful, and that if uptake data is available, that also helps with a more quantitative addition to the mostly qualitative population of the matrix, and a clearer documentation of the assumptions that were made in order to populate the matrix. That's also very crucial. And the last slide on the broader use of the tool. I think that it is very useful also from a more strategic programming view to identify coherence, for example, across instruments. It can be used for evaluation, to use more in that regard. And I think it is also, and as I said before, it is a tool that helps enabling dialogue. And so, for example, using it in a more stakeholder setting to have a more participatory scoring and discussion, I think could be very useful. It requires clear guidance and an evidence base, and also in order to actually have this dialogue between researchers and stakeholders, and in our case, the ministry, I think that facilitation expertise is necessary, and as external research support to ensure the methodological quality of the population of the matrix. What is necessary in terms of implementing the tool is that data is available, and it's also necessary to look at the timing in the policy cycle to actually have value in implementing the tool. We learned that it can be very complex to come to a decision on how to populate the matrix, and so there is definitely complexity to it, and I think there is a need for balancing out the complexity of implementing it and the objective of also creating transparency. There is, like, in terms of what the objectives are to using the tool, I think there's also different directions that you can go, either formulating objectives, which is more in a stakeholder process, and then populating the matrix, which depends very much on expert knowledge. So I think it is crucial to see where to go on that road. And I think one last point is that the use of the matrix is most valuable when embedded very early in the programming, to have evidence-informed and participatory planning of the programming, which we are at in the moment. So I think this is it from my side.